I'm Quinn Lemley with Secrets of the Stage, and this is the place where we pull back the curtains and we dive into the creative process. And I am so excited because speaking of the creative process, I have Jay and Cindy Gutterman. Welcome. They're Broadway producers of like almost every hit show that.
Let's not go that far.
Well, when I was reading your credits, I was like, I saw that show, and how they affected my life. You know, it's like the fabric of Broadway. And I'm so excited because you're here. You're producers on Rock and Roll Man.
Yes.
Yes.
What a wonderful show, Alan Freed.
Unbelievable. And Rose Kiola, producer, co-writer, she's put her heart and soul into the show, and it's so exciting. People are on their feet every night.
I know, I saw it five times.
It's mind-blowing.
It is wonderful, and it was playing at New World Stages,
yes.
And you're taking a hiatus right now.
Yes.
Right.
And you're going to go on the road. You're going to do a national tour.
Yep.
Yes.
And then maybe come back to Broadway.
That's our hope.
This is a story that needs to be told.
Right.
Yes,
and,
yes.
And also, the West End is a potential as another market.
Wonderful. I think that they would love it there, and people that they're going to know the music. People of all ages love the music.
Yeah, it influenced probably the Beatles and Stones. Had more influence because of Alan Freed.
He made sure the music was heard by people like Little Richard and Chuck Berry.
Actually was one to cross the color barrier, to bring the the white and black people of color together. That just wasn't heard of then.
Mm-hmm.
And it was wonderful what he did.
I mean, true. His turntable was colorblind, and
yes.
His tours were integrated. He did things that no one did at that point, and for that matter, he caught the wrath of J. Edgar Hoover, who said this is not an American way of doing things, and he bucked the system and paid for it. But he introduced black and white teenagers and older people to a form of music that everybody, in a way, it's a daily festival that everyone has musically.
Well, let's put his picture up so our audiences can see who Alan Freed was.
Fabulous.
Let's play some B-roll of Rock and Roll Man.
Fabulous.
That's going to come to a theater near you soon. What a cast you have.
Cast.
I'm Constantine.
Constantine is amazing.
He's amazing. And your Little Richard.
Roderick was phenomenal.
Roderick is a force of nature.
Oh, he's marvelous.
Unbelievable.
What I liked was the ensemble nature of your cast. And everybody had their special moments, and they played so many roles.
True.
It really was like a family.
Well, you could tell it. You could feel it.
Such respect among everybody with talent. And when I tell you every night, 80-year-olds, 7-year-olds, I mean, age didn't matter. They were all up in their seats dancing.
Oh, it was amazing.
It's a feel-good show, and that's why we really want people to see it.
It's true. It's a timeless show. It's not kind of in a time warp.
It has a message. It's a jukebox musical with original music and a message.
Correct.
And I just think it's a message that needs to be heard, and people don't know who Alan Freed was, and this is really a wonderful way to bring his importance into the forefront.
And when they learn how short his life was.
Oh, I gasped.
There's a gasp in the audience. People just feel so horrible.
Yes.
He really tried. He did.
Yes.
You have to feel for him. He really tried to do something and probably accomplished a lot. But
How did you get involved with Rock and Roll Man?
we've known Rose for many, many years. And when she told us about this, we just fell in love with it. We went to, was it the Berkshires, I think? Yeah.
Yeah,
We
we
went there to
saw it
see
in Bucks County.
in Bucks
Oh,
County.
she
loved
did it in
Yes.
Bucks County. So
And-
what was the process of this? Did it start with a reading and then go to...
Starts with the reading, then it went to Bucks County, and we went up to see it, and we were floored. We loved it.
Was
Yeah.
it this cast or a
No,
different
no,
cast?
It's sort of been a progression. It was originally the first time that we got something from Rose and her brother Luigi was to come see a reading called Get Freed. And I turned
Get
to Cindy
Freed.
and I said, wow, they're doing a civil rights play. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we got there, there were all of these 50 songs, and it was a lengthier. It was not pulled together as it was pulled together for the off-Broadway production. And Rose did a magnificent job in kind of having an evolution where it finally went to Bucks County. It won some awards there. They refined it further.
How
And-
long did it play at Bucks
well,
County?
most of the times when you do it, it might be 1 to 2 months that it would play. Or
Oh,
6
so
weeks.
Over the
it
summer.
was
You
able
know.
to sit down.
Yes.
Right, it was a sit down.
Nice.
Like
Right,
2
it
months.
did really well, and it had the same reaction there in Pennsylvania that New York saw. The people couldn't sit down, and
Right.
it was just a great feeling. And then she took it to the Berkshires. There too, same type of a feedback. It was more refined, more elaborate sets, and then COVID hit.
Right.
So that set everybody back a couple of years in a way. But
I
she,
didn't realize you started this before COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, she has been
Wow.
on this for a
Couple
long
of years.
time, and she's been relentless.
Well, you have to be in this business. You-
Yeah, the thick skin comes in. That you don't say no to somebody. You just keep forging ahead.
That is so wonderful. Now you have, how many Tonys do you have?
Well, we're not like Rose. We have, I think, 13 nominations.
Yeah, we have 5.
We have, you know,
She's so funny. We were at the University Club the other day, and she's like, oh, well, I have, you know, she was so modest about her
Right.
Tonys and
Sure.
her work and all of her
Yes.
productions. Have
Yeah.
you produced with her before
yes,
in many
sure.
other shows?
Yeah.
Because she's done like 56
Yeah, we've done, several Al
productions.
Pacino shows with her. We've done a lot with Rose.
yeah, we were on Tootsie with her brother
Tootsie.
and Rose. I guess I will suddenly say we'll go blank, but
Rose is
there-
going to be as a producer with us on Female Travels. She's going to be.
Well, we're going to get
Yeah.
to that in just
Yeah.
a minute. I want to finish Rock and Roll Man.
So-
So you are looking to take Rock and Roll Man to the West End, potentially.
That would be amazing. I
Yes.
think it would do very well in
I
the
think
West
you'd
End.
do
The music
very
would be
well.
amazing over there. They love that music.
I mean, you don't have. You might have to sell somebody and saying, "Who's Alan Freed?" I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
musicologist, if you've been to the
I was
Rock and Roll
that
Hall of
way
Fame,
before I went to see it, and then you go and you're like, well, "How did I not know who Alan?" Because
Correct.
I'm a historian, a music historian. I
Yeah.
love it.
I mean, it brought on
Yeah.
discussion where you'd hear people saying, you know, did he, if he was found guilty of payola,
And what can you explain to our audience what payola is?
taking money from various stations and playing music for money. It was a new medium. And most people would take a professional, like a Dick Clark. Nothing different to him. They would say, we'll pay you $1,000 a week for you to listen to these records and tell us what you think commercially is going to be successful. We don't know. We're ulcers. We don't understand this. You understand it. It's your audience. And Freed was no different, except because he had progressive ideas that were
with
not
interracial-
acceptable.
Right,
Well,
yes.
he was even before
Yeah.
Martin Luther King and I guess like Rosa Parks to saying, I'm not going to sit in the back of the bus. He was that way in saying,
Music.
my tours are going to be black kids with white kids, as our live stage shows, as my music will be, and everything. He was not, a hypocrite in that respect. And although he was told to cool it, he said, no, this is about human
He had
nature.
integrity and
And,
Exactly. He would
and
never play cover bands. In other words, someone else
Correct.
recorded
Right.
their music, he would never play it.
you know,
well, it's important that you get this story
Sure.
out there because he was such a visionary and really changed the trajectory of rock and roll. He's the person that coined the phrase rock and roll.
he was somebody who saw the future and lived by that, and he would not
Yeah.
capitulate by doing something, and say, forget it. I let somebody else be a martyr.
Well, J. Edgar Hoover had it out for him.
Oh, he had it in for him, yeah. He took him down. He really did.
Figured it every which way, shape, and form. We're going to find a way to either legally and not legally reprimand this guy and get him out of our picture.
You are bringing him his story to awareness, and that's so important.
And it's too bad that he didn't live to see himself inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, but most of the people who were viewed in the story, the first year the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland came in, they were all universally nominated, and Alan was nominated as well. So he went in with the group that he really, in a way, created.
That's it. That is so wonderful.
Unbelievable.
And what is the process? Let's go to London. So how as Broadway producers, how are you going to bring the show to the West End? What is that process? Is it different across the pond?
Well, you have to find a London producer to team up with you to do it
You
there.
need somebody who's either going to produce it, who is a, straight shooter that you're going to get along with, or be an executive producer, because they will probably have more of an in with theaters, and you're not going to necessarily bring over, barring a director, other people for cost's sake, who were perhaps your set designer or sound people. You might pick and choose and have 2 people come with you, and everybody else will be local. And if you don't have your thumbprint on who is going to be the best person suited for that, that's really what you're looking for as a partner.
And I might add, it's half the price to do it on the West End than it is here.
I know. I'm going to London for the first time in like a while, and I'm doing Rita in a small club, and I'm looking to bring it into a theater because it's built for a theater. It's not built for a club. But I'm so excited. We're over Valentine's Day, and I just can't wait to see London again. I hear how it's evolved, and
we have War of the Roses going there in September of '24.
Yes, I want to talk about War of the Roses. Your set is fantastic.
It
is.
When we
so
did it in
beautiful.
Delaware, there was also a gasp when the set came out on the stage.
Oh, when I saw the picture. Tell about it, because War of the Roses was a film with Michael Douglas and a Kathleen.
This is based on the book.
It was based on the book by Warren Adler. And we've always promised Warren. Warren passed away a couple of years ago.
Did he have a real-life War of the Roses?
Well, he tried to say
this. It was kind of based on something like that through a friend that he met at a country club.
He more or less said that he would go to this party, and somewhere like 11:45 every night that this party went on, this guy and woman would leave. And it turned out it wasn't his wife. But when Warren said, "Why do you leave when things are first getting going?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to get divorced. And my wife said, if you're not home by midnight,
you're locked out.
I'm locking the door." And,
oh my God.
And he told them that they sort of separated things almost territorially.
He wrote it based on that.
And he got the idea to write this book.
Is there the chandelier scene?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I saw the chandelier in the set, and I was like, oh.
We had it rewritten by Peter Tolan, who did Analyze This, Rescue Me, and it is hilarious now. It's now a very funny dark comedy. Jason Alexander is directing it for us.
How fast? Oh, it's going to be hilarious.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
What is he like to work with as a director?
He's a lovely person. He's unbelievable.
He's great.
So giving, and he's so unselfish in working with him. He's unbelievable.
His
he spoke to his agent, the manager.
Said to us, he said, "Look, would you consider having Jason direct this?" And we had somebody much younger that we were looking at, who was a female, but she was so young. She was certainly equipped, but so young. We said, I don't think how she ever have
a relationship like this.
Exactly.
So we figured, he said, "I'm your man," and since that day,
he's been
we've
so
had
dedicated.
A magnificent relationship.
So when
with
is
him.
it going to open?
We're looking fall of '24, and then we're doing the reverse. We would build our set there, run it as long as we can, and we will.
And then you'll bring. Does that happen more often than not, or
very often?
Well, if proof of principle is the show is a success, commercially and artistically, the theater owners will say, "Welcome aboard." And sometimes getting your foot in the door, it's easier said than done.
Talk about that for a minute, because I don't think that our readers, the person that goes to the theater or walks down Broadway and says, "Oh, how do you become a producer? How do the theaters work with so many people? There's so much talent out there, and you're competing." What's the process?
Are you talking about producing the show actually? Well, it's a lot of work goes into it. You have to find your financing, you have to find your cast, you have to the script is rewritten 12 times before it comes to the stage.
And raising funds personally or collectively.
And your theater.
And how does that work? How do Broadway shows get produced? I mean, financed?
It really consists of two people. If there's a wealthy person who could write their own check, and they have their own book, and then if there's an individual that has to go to 20 people to basically put in a certain amount, and you have other producers that you ask to come in and pay them a certain amount.
If you look at a marquee on Broadway,
it takes
you'll
a village.
see 20 names.
20
up there.
names.
But that's
it used to not be like that.
Sometimes you see 20 lines in names.
But you need that now because shows are very costly
it's very expensive.
to do.
Yeah.
Why are they so costly? Is it the real estate or is it the unions?
Unions. I mean, it can cost you $1 million just to load in a show.
Wow.
Right, load in, load
you have to
out
load
is
out?
expensive. Advertising is expensive. I mean, everything you do has an expense to it.
No,
I mean, this is really a
insurance, they don't-
secret of the stage because you're the chef. You're
Right.
You're running the restaurant.
But the thing is, you're on the other side of the stage, and you've got to keep the peace with the actors and the creative team and make it work. But you want to have the utmost respect for the other side of the stage because they're your patrons. Without them, you got nothing.
How many times do people have to hear about a show before they're actually going to buy a ticket?
It really has to be pounded in, a month or two out. You've got to start to repetitively have something smart that people suddenly realize, hey, the show is coming.
Or if you have
We're
a huge star. I mean, we've done 3 shows with Al Pacino. One of them wasn't the best show in the world, but
Which shows did you do
we
with
did
Al
The
Pacino?
Merchant of Venice, Glengarry Glen Ross,
Oh.
and Chinglish.
Okay.
And-
China Doll.
I'm sorry, China's on.
China.
And they
He is
weren't-
marvelous.
All you have to say is Al Pacino was sold out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or Bryan Cranston and all the way. 2 words, Bryan Cranston.
Right. Right.
And so if you have that star, that's a plus. That gets you sold.
Does it matter about reviews anymore? It used to be like you're holding on for the New York Times, but
it doesn't help if everybody doesn't have a good thing to say. I mean, that's tough. And we've been there. And you try to figure out, Wicked didn't get good reviews, but it prevailed.
But look at it.
Okay, it prevailed for 20 some odd years. There are shows that have been able to do that.
I think it's worse now with social media. Social media can destroy a show in one day.
I know.
I mean, it's horrible what
It's
people will go
crazy.
on and say, even if they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it can certainly benefit a show
Yes.
by having it promoted and fall in favor with everybody. I mean, it's 2 sides to the story, but you've got to really be smart and adapt because things can change, and that would follow suit in advertising to say that you're not expending all your money too soon, recklessly, and not getting something in return.
And so how do you decide how to spend your advertising dollars? Do you use a lot of Facebook ads and things like that, or is it hard commercials, print?
I don't think print ads are doing much now. I don't think that people aren't really reading the New York Times the way they used to.
Right.
You devote a certain amount
TikTok.
because of people who
No,
are
I
going to
mean,
be a
that's-
certain age. Yeah, they use computers, but they still will read the Times, and you want to make certain that you don't lose them because they're big theater goers. But if you want younger people, you've got to
Instagram.
basically say, where do younger people go? And if you're not there, they're not going to know of your existence.
Right. So you are doing a play,
It's entitled Female Trouble.
Female Trouble. It's not divine. It's
No.
you
Female
have to tell the story.
Troubles.
Troubles.
And it's
Very controversial.
it's about women's rights and their right to choose and their right to do with what they want with their own bodies. It's written by the women that did Seinfeld. Everyone loves Raymond Veep. Curtis Moore is up for 3 Emmys this year, who wrote the music for Mr. Maisel and other shows.
What are the
and Amanda Green.
what's the music like? Is it?
It's
All original.
It's really innovative. I mean, it's music that there are some things that could be an anthem for women.
There's
for
an
how
anthem in the
long.
show for women called A Woman Knows. And it's a duet done between the 2 women about their turmoil and fight about what they want to do with having a baby or not. It has a wonderful message that a woman should be able to do what she wants with her body.
And there's
no
a
matter what anybody-
woman, Madame Restell,
Who was a real person.
Who was a real person in New York
Really?
in the 1880s.
took care of
The
female troubles.
Comstock Act was made up because of her. She was a progressive woman who gave women, if they had wanted an abortion or certain education, she developed that. And,
Wow.
and Comstock said, not in my time. Again, a man telling
amazing.
a woman, this is the way it's going to be. So the authors took her into 1810, time traveled, where she had an abortion clinic. And when this woman who's going to marry an elite person who joined the Queen's Navy realizes they're fling the night before he left,
wow.
she's very much pregnant, and that doesn't fly in 1810. Might not fly in 2023 either.
Yeah.
But they want to then take a carriage trip to London to sort things out. And that's really what it becomes, of all the various platitudes
comedy
that
comes
they
in
have
because
to...
They have to dress as men to go to London, or they can't make the trip.
Yeah, to go to an inn.
Oh,
so
like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Exactly.
Right.
So their escapades on the road become very comical.
Oh, wow.
It's hilarious.
When do you think that it'll come to Broadway?
I would say the 24-25 season.
Oh, this is going to be wonderful.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Wow, we need people like you bringing, you know, very important messages to the theater. And the theater music is a way of really connecting and people with social messages.
It's probably the show, our controversial show, which offended, we hope it offended everybody, was Spring Awakening. And, you know, that sort of had a say in parental guidance. And when we would attend, there were times fathers would take their daughters and rip them out of the theater because they found something offensive. And Cindy, I remember, just turned to someone and said, "It's not my business. This is one show you should sit
this is why you should
through
stay.
Act 1 and Act 2
Yes.
and listen to what they're saying." This is not a nonprofit show. This is not esoteric. This really has to have an appeal to a large audience. I mean, some people might say it's politicizing.
Can you talk about how do you know if a show should be a nonprofit show or if it's a hard ticket show?
Well,
I mean, when you're producing, I mean, you have to have that eye, right?
Yeah, of course.
the show is going to be directed by Scott Ellis.
Oh my
And
God.
Scott really had his hand and pulse on this. But when Todd Hames took ill and Todd Hames eventually passed away, Scott effectively is the right now interim artistic director at the Roundabout. So his time was really filled there. Mm-hmm. And in fairness, he could not devote the time to this. So Chris Catelli is going to be directing it and choreographing it. Wow. And there couldn't have been a better handoff of the baton. And would this show be right at the Roundabout? If Scott did it and there was no alternatives and it was going to be a very on the cheap, maybe. But this is a commercial show. Mm-hmm. And it's a show with a message. Mm-hmm. And we can't clinically, we're not going to preach to anyone.
We're not cramming any belief down anyone's throat.
And it's without losing the humor, but basically having the message crystal clear. Mm-hmm. And the music will help, and the jokes will help.
I just know with my show, the music helps soften some hard topics. You know, it's...
Well, as I said, the song A Woman Knows, that sung as a duet between the two women, it will bring you to tears.
I can't wait.
Because you feel for both of them. You see how they're both struggling with this decision. And it's just beautiful.
And for you, as when you're the lead producer, are you handpicking the director and are you helping? How involved are you in the costumes, the set, the cast? I mean, and the script, like how do you?
Oh, definitely very involved.
There'll be a decision.
We just made notes on the script. I mean, you have to veto a lot of the script, suggest rewrites, suggest what might be right, what might be wrong. You know.
You try not to offend anybody.
We suggested what songs we thought should be taken out.
The foot has to be put down to say, look, if this is not addressed, you know, it'll fester to a point where, you know, it's like again. You know, you have a fire in a garbage can. You know, if you don't put it out, it could spread to the trees, and suddenly the forest is ablaze. Right. You've got to make certain that you're speaking your mind. You're not a know-it-all, but at least to address it so that there's a give and take.
I mean,
the director does.
The director will do the casting basically, but during the reading.
But you have a little bit of a say.
Oh yeah, like if we went to the reading, we heard them read for us, and we said this person isn't someone we want. You know, you have the right to say that and recast that.
How did you get into producing?
My background was basically I was running the Directors Guild for many years, and I worked with Billy Friedkin and Leah Kazan. I mean, Billy wanted me to go to California and work with his company, and I didn't. I was so young, I didn't want to leave. I didn't know anyone there.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, I loved working there, and I worked with all the directors, and then I left and went into the music business, and I worked with. I'll tell you how old I am. I work with Alvin Lee, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yes.
Yes, we're doing backdrops for their concerts because at that time a lot of things weren't digital.
Right.
We used to do it physically, and I used to go on tour with them and do that.
Oh my goodness.
And that was fun. And then I came back from London, and I got on the subway one night, and we went to the same high school. Jay was sitting on the subway, and that's how we met. But he was in.
Did you know immediately when you met?
No.
No, we basically, in the escalator ride up, we realized we had common friends.
We went to the same high school.
You know, with Forest
But he
Hills.
was an investment banker, and that's how one of his clients was one of the producers that originated the Tony Awards.
Oh my
And that's
goodness.
how we got
Alex
into
Cohen.
it.
That is
Yeah.
so wonderful.
Yeah.
And now you do this all full time.
Well, yeah, it was. Look, I did lighting and sound and things of that nature, and we got married. I figured, look, you know, we're going to have kids, and let's do something which is going to be.
And you have a very smart daughter.
Yes. Yes.
right.
Yes.
So
Who wanted to be an actress, and I talked her out of it.
So after our first show, it was still at 100%, you know, Wall Street, and that would chisel itself down to 50-50, and eventually, you know, is zero. And we've been doing this. I mean, I guess we've done
20 years?
going on 36 Broadway shows. We've done
20
some
years
just
ago.
as investors. Done some London things.
I mean,
And look,
fortunately, we've had a lot of, you know, more success than not, but, you know,
Yes.
you don't always know.
Right.
Yeah. And you got to take the good with the bad because it doesn't always work out wonderfully. And you know, you realize as well, you want to try to treat investors as you would treat, you know, be treated.
Of course.
So it hurts when the show doesn't work, but everyone is there on the opening night. Everybody is there during the run, so they could see for yourself the job that was done by those people
But
involved
we will
with it.
always tell people, if people say, you know, I want to put money in, we will always say, if this is going to change your life or not feed your family, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you can never guarantee what's going to happen with the show.
Right. It's show business. With that, I think that we need to wrap up, but please, we have to have people come see Rock and Roll Man at a
Absolutely,
theater
please.
near you and on the West End.
And it
You've
will be
got-
there soon.
Yes, and you've got Rock and Roll Man in the West End and a national tour in the United States coming back to Broadway.
Absolutely.
And then you have War of the Roses
On the West End.
on the West End and
Female Troubles.
Female
Troubles.
Troubles, right.
So we have so much to be looking forward to in the 2024
And we'll probably be part of Tommy and Cabaret.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wonderful. Well, I am so thrilled that you're
Thank
here,
you. It
and
was been a
thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I'm Quinn Lemley. Until next time with Secrets of the Stage. We air the first Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, or you can go to www.quinnlemley.com for past segments and join my mailing list and keep up with Secrets of the Stage. Until next time, I'm Quinn Lemley.